Hello and welcome to the latest edition of WVU Medicine Tuesday Talks. I'm your host, Mary Ravazio Menard. There are more than 100,000 people in the U.S. waiting for an organ transplant. But did you know that 20 U.S. patients die every day because of the lack of donor organs? You may be hesitating to register to become an organ donor because you have heard some misinformation. So today, we're going to set the record straight and do some myth busting with Chavonne Newman, Transplant Unit Manager for the WVU Medicine Transplant Alliance. Welcome, Chavonne, to Tuesday Talks.
Thank you, Mary. I'm happy to be here.
You ready to do some myth busting?
I am.
Good,
I am
good.
ready to
I'm ready
bust
too. Now, if you have any questions about organ donation, all you have to do is post them just below there in the comments section, and we'll try to answer them for you live. So, I think we first need to talk about the need for organ donors. How critical is the need right now?
Well, Mary, you hit a lot of those points at the very beginning with your introduction. So, currently there are over 106,000 people that are on the waiting list, waiting for, a life-saving organ. And yes, every day at least 20 people die because they have not received that life-saving gift. One thing I want to also tell you is every 9 minutes a person is added to the National Transplant List.
Wow.
So the need is there, so that's why I'm glad I'm here to bust some of these myths so we can get, more donors.
Yeah. So how do we become a donor? What do you do? So let's just say everybody's convinced already. I'm an organ donor. I did mine through on my driver's license, but that's not the only way to become a donor.
That is not the only way. So yes, you can go through, your Department of Motor Vehicles for your driver's license as well as your ID. Also, you can sign up through your state registry. So what we have here is registerme.org/WVU Medicine. You can register there. Now within the state of West Virginia, when you apply for your hunting and your fishing license, on the application there is a box where you can check to, set your designation.
Wow.
And also the big thing is to talk to your family. Definitely have that discussion. Let your family know what your wishes are and your desires to donate.
Yeah, and I know I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but if I'm already an organ donor, can my family, when the time comes, can they veto what I want?
So that is a question that comes up. So when you register, and you have that on your license or your ID, or you've made that designation, it's like a legal binding, document. So at the time of a family member's passing, they, members of the hospital will ask, what the wishes are. Mm-hmm. And they don't necessarily have to, but they do, because they can go with that designation. So again, I'll put that plug in that we ask that you have these conversations early so that, your family members are aware. It's a devastating time, when somebody is passing.
Sure.
But, nobody has the will with them, but they want to know, I had that conversation with him or her, and they did really want to be an organ donor.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So let's make sure we have the conversation with our family,
Yes.
and we're going to talk about some of the myths that may be keeping people from registering, because there's some
interesting ones.
There's some interesting ones out there. Okay.
Let's go.
All right. But here's the most common one I've heard. That is, if I agree to be an organ donor, when I'm in the hospital staff, they're not going to work as hard to save my life because they're more interested in saving my organs for somebody else.
When you come into the hospital, all hands on deck at saving lives. That's what we do. As physicians, as nurses, as all medical staff, we want to save a life. We're not really thinking about another person's life at that time. Mm-hmm. It's what can we do, all hands on deck, to save your life.
So you're not going to be treated any differently if you're an organ donor or you're not an organ donor.
And to be honest, this team might not even know that. You're coming in, we're a trauma center. You're coming straight in, and we're just looking at, okay, what do we need to do to save this life?
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's look at some other myths here. Okay, here's one. Maybe I won't really be dead when they sign my death certificate.
Oh, so that's the, wiggle your toe if you can hear me. Are you really
Yes,
dead? Okay, they
yes.
didn't move their toe. No. No. So when you are designated as an organ donor, there's additional testing that needs to be done to declare, that you are indeed deceased.
Okay.
Now, that additional testing is at no cost to the donor family, but it needs to be done. So you are declared dead before any kind of donation process occurs.
It's not something you just willy-nilly...
No, you see that a lot on
Yeah.
TV. That's where some of those myths come from.
Okay. So it's not like it is on TV.
No, not at all.
Much like a lot of things, right?
That is true.
Okay, here's another myth. I can't donate my organs because it's against my religion.
So the majority of religions in the United States look at organ donation as a gift of compassion and generosity. So what I would tell those that have some questions is talk to your faith leader. If you're not sure, have those conversations. But, Baptist, Protestant, Catholic, they all view organ donation as a gift.
The gift of life, right?
Gift of life.
Yeah. Okay. Here's another one. I'm under age 18, so I'm too young to make this decision to donate my organs.
In many states, those under the age of 18 are able to register to be a donor on your driver's license when you turn 16. Or you are getting that ID and you make that decision. You can. But ultimately, it is your parents or legal guardians, overall final say.
Okay.
But what I would stress again is have that discussion. Talk to your parents and say, hey, can I have your consent? I really want to help somebody. And in the event that something happens to me, I would like my organs to be donated.
Smart. So something, to think about ahead of time.
Be
And that could be, I can understand why some people would be hesitant to have that conversation because that's a little unsettling, isn't it?
Yes. It's definitely a hard conversation to have. But I look at it as you showing power. You're being able to voice, how you feel and what your decisions are. And, ultimately, I would love for you to, support my decision in this.
Okay. All right.
Oh, one thing I do want to add. Sorry. For, being under the age of 18, it's not just adults that need organs. There are children that that are on the organ transplant list. At least 1,900 kids are on the list for a life-saving organ. And adults may be too big. They're based on size-wise and things. So, there are kids that are out there that need transplants.
Everybody needs them at all ages, huh? Okay. Now our next one is I can't have an open casket funeral if I donate organs or tissues.
That's not true either. And nobody's going to know that you were an organ donor or a tissue donor. You can have an open casket. The donor body is prepared and clothed just like any other body and treated with care and respect. So you would not have any clue that, Aunt Sarah donated her organs.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Okay. This is one I think some people think about too. I'm too old to donate. Who's going to want my organs? I've lived a hardy life.
Right. So there is no defined cutoff age when it comes to donation. What physicians do is screen just to make sure that there's no, serious medical, contraindications. But no, there's no cutoff when it comes to age. You never know. Your eyes could still be great, and you could give vision to somebody who needs a cornea transplant regardless of what age you are.
Yeah. And I imagine there's a lot of people that need cornea transplants. All right. Next myth. I'd like to donate one of my kidneys now, but I wouldn't be allowed to do that unless one of my family members is in need.
That's an old myth.
Okay.
So, you think back of the days where you had to have an identical twin to get a kidney, but now you can donate to your neighbor a distant cousin, coworker, or somebody that you don't even know. You know, if you are interested in donating a kidney, you can do so. When it comes to living donation, it is a very thorough evaluation for that donor, because we have to screen you to make sure that you're, one, healthy to give up a kidney. Two, you're aware of the risks that are involved. You know, most living donors are perfectly healthy, never had any kind of serious surgery. So you want to know that you're having an abdominal surgery. This is a risk.
Yeah.
And also you want to make sure that there's no financial gain for you to give that kidney.
Okay. Okay. Now, this is where I have to give a shout out to my cousins Gina and Amy. 8 years ago, they're sisters.
Okay.
And my cousin Gina needed a kidney transplant, and her sister Amy donated.
8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Amazing.
And they're both living their best lives.
Awesome.
And, you know, a healthy life. You can live
You can.
on one kidney, correct?
You can. There are people amongst our community, could be in this room, who have one kidney. We're born with one kidney, and we wouldn't know.
You
So,
wouldn't
yes,
know unless you...
wouldn't know.
Yeah, okay. So shout out to Gina and Amy. All right.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Amy.
You know, when you were talking before about, you know, it had to be a perfect match. Can a male donate? Can you transplant like a male liver in a female patient?
You can, depending on the size.
Okay.
Depending on the size. So there's split livers so you can cut down the liver and kind of give half to,
Oh, okay.
depending on the size things.
Okay.
So,
So it doesn't necessarily have to be the same sex.
no, doesn't have to be the same sex.
Okay. There's a lot. I imagine there's a lot of different things that go into what.
A lot of it is
What
based
determines
on
a
size.
match?
Yep. A lot of it is height, weight, you know, blood type. You know, but in the kidney, you know, I could be a blood type A and want to give to somebody that's a blood type B, not a compatible match, but there are avenues now that we can go into, like, you know, kidney paired exchange or things like that, where, you know, I might not match you personally, but there's another group that kind of is the same way, but I can kind of give to that A and that B could give to you as a blood type. And we can go into almost like an exchange.
Oh, wow. That's just a little bit of mixing and matching. Yep. Okay. Yep. All right, here's another good myth, and I think a lot of people think this. Even I did at one point, that rich and famous people go to the top of the list when they need a donor organ.
It may appear that way. It may appear that way, but when it comes to organ allocations, your celebrity status, your financial status is not factored in. You know, it's just, you know, publicity. You know, Selena Gomez gets a kidney transplant. Everybody hears about that. But if Chavonne Newman gets a kidney transplant, no, I'm not a celebrity.
Nobody hears about it, no.
Nobody hears about it. But, you know, like I said, it does appear that way. But that's not the case. You know, celebrity status, financial status, that is not factored in when it comes into allocating organs.
Okay. Another myth is my family will be charged if I donate my organs.
Yeah, that is a myth.
Now, what are they thinking they'll be charged for?
Well, and it can be misinterpreted because you come into the hospital and they do everything to save your life. And then you have the donation, but the donor family, they get a bill, but the bill is everything that was needed and used to save your life, not the donation. So if you required, you know, OR, ICU stays, things like that, all to, you know, save your life, that's what the bill is. It's not the donation itself.
Okay.
So a lot of times it is misinterpreted.
So would the part for donation, anything that had to be done, would that be charged to the recipient?
It is charged to the recipient.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. I think that's all the myths I have heard about. Okay. So before we go here, I just wanted to talk about what's the most important thing you want our viewers to know about organ donation, and why should they become organ donors?
Well, one thing I do want to highlight is in 2021, there were a total of 40,000 transplants that were done. So 40,000 people got the gift of life.
Wow.
So that is a record number. Yes. So
Wow.
I have to put it out there, and that's because of organ donation. Now, as you stated at the beginning, there are still over 100,000 people that are on that list.
Yeah.
And every 9 minutes, somebody's added. I mean, just us talking here, probably 2 to 3 people were added to the wait list of us just having this conversation.
Wow.
And 20 people do die daily, waiting for that gift. So the need is there. I can talk about organ donation all day, but I'm hoping that having this conversation today with you and busting some of these myths will open up, someone's eyes, open up their eyes and their ears to be able to hear that,
Yeah.
organ donation it's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
I don't need my organs when I'm leaving. What am I going to do with them?
Can't take them with
Can't
you.
take them with me. Can't do it. But I could potentially give the life of somebody else. There could be a 5-year-old that could end up going to the prom because of the fact that I gave up my heart or a kidney or things like that.
Yeah, you
So,
can
yeah.
save several lives.
You can save, one donor can save up to 8 lives.
Wow.
And then enhance at least 75 others through tissue and cornea transplants.
Okay. So let's review again, what are the websites here? If you want to register, we want you to go to, you can go to registerme.org/WVU Medicine
Correct.
or WVUmedicine.org/transplant. Or you can do it when you get your driver's license, your hunting and fishing license.
Fishing license, yes.
What am I leaving out? Anything else?
Have that conversation. That's the main thing. Have that conversation with your family.
Okay.
My family knows that when I go, I want to have a big New Orleans style party kind of celebration of life funeral.
Yeah.
But they also know that before we do have that, I want my organs to be donated.
Okay.
So it's have those conversations. It's tough, but have those conversations with your
But I
family.
imagine there's some relief after having
Yes.
that conversation,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah,
All
definitely
right.
is.
Well, Chavonne, thank you so much
Thank you
for
for having me.
sharing all this
Yes.
wonderful information with us and breaking down these myths. Don't believe everything you hear
No,
or read.
no. Yes. Or see on TV.
Exactly.
That is true.
Exactly.
That is
All
true.
right. Well, that brings us to the end of this edition of Tuesday Talks. If you're looking for more information about becoming a donor, visit wvumedicine.org/transplant. And we encourage you to register to become an organ donor by visiting registerme.org/WVU Medicine. I'm Mary Ravazio Menard, and on behalf of Chavonne Newman and everyone at WVU Medicine, thanks for joining us and have a great day.